to like narcissists and getting new supply, right?
Mm-hmm.
I find like, and including myself, take it really personal. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Obviously victims, and rightfully so, take it really personal. Mm-hmm. What was I lacking? Why don't they want me anymore? What is like your perspective? Is it that we aren't good enough, or is it that you found something like not something better? Because I don't want to degrade us, but like somebody that is supplying you something they're not giving you. Like what happens there?
I think a lot of times there's like a big misconception with a lot of victims that they think it's about them. And like in all reality, like when it comes down to it, it's like, no, it's about the narcissist, and it's always been about the narcissist, but they think for a period of time that it's been about them. And that's what really gets them confused or really gets them messed up sometimes.
Yeah. No, that's such a good point, because I feel like we preach that, right? All the time. The narcissist, the way you're being treated by them in general, it has nothing to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
But even I have not come to that conclusion myself with like being the person that was left. Like it has nothing to really do with me. Oh, thank you.
Right.
Hey, did you see that cute thing?
There's some pink thing. I didn't see what it was. Oh, like super hearts.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, so I had asked you this briefly the other day, but I'd love for you to elaborate. I'm sure some people are curious.
Sounds good. I'm listening.
No, I know that. So I know we're all aware of like love bombing and how it happens at the beginning of the relationship and why it occurs. And then, later on comes breadcrumbing. And I had asked you sort of like, is love bombing a way of like, like it's almost like, I'm doing something you don't want to know about, so I'm going to distract you. But then you sort of redirecting what it means.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love more of your take on that.
Yeah, I mean, love bombing is normally there. There you go. Love bombing is normally there to try to distract and to avoid. So, like, as a narcissist, if you're getting caught on something, if someone's like starting to, catch you on something, one of the goals is you want to try to avoid it and at all costs. So you're going to try to avoid it however you can. Typically, you're going to want to distract, and you're going to distract through love bombing, through gaslighting, and through that type of manipulation. And love bombing is typically a great way. Love bombing and future faking, I feel like a lot of times go hand in hand, because they're trying to get you to the next thing. They're trying to get you farther down the road than where you are just right now. So it's interesting, like in talking to different people, like they'll talk about love bombing, and I'll bring it up and I'll say like, but when did they love bomb? Like what actually was happening? And they start realizing it and attributing it back to, oh, like I was actually love bombed after this happened, after I held my narcissist accountable for something, after I like told them about something or accused them of something, then I was love bombed. Like it's kind of crazy, like how a lot of times they correlate and people never have a clue that they actually are correlating.
Well, and I mean, I'm sure this makes sense, right? The narcissist is in charge of the chaos. You guys are orchestrating it, right? You're
right.
always in control. And so, but for us, we're just along for this ride that, like, now that I'm removed, I feel like it's pretty predictable. Like, I know, like, I can watch from the outside now things unfolding for my clients, and I instantly know, like, oh, and so you're going to create a boundary, and then X, Y, and Z are likely to happen. But when you're in it, you're not in control of the chaos. Everything is so emotional and so desperate and obsession filled. Like it's so hard to describe unless you've been in it. But
yeah,
so definitely didn't feel in control of that mess.
There you go. Sorry, I'm not getting it all. There we go.
Hi, Chris. Oh, I had another question. Whenever you're ready, though, because I know you're like getting everything up.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. By the way, hello.
I figured out how to set the one, but not the other. Okay.
Yes, Brew. It is. It's total misery. It really is.
Sweet. There we go. Move that, hide that. Now we're good. That works.
Final notes on the love bombing, because it just like hit me. Like, oh, that sucks. Where it's like you're trying to like, and when I say I'm just referring to narcissists, not you, the narcissist that you.
That's fine. I'm used to it.
I respect you a lot, Ben. So I just don't want you to think that I'm just clumping you in with the others. But it's like what we think what we're experiencing is more connection, but really it's just hiding, right?
Mhm.
Like, and it sucks because for us, we're like, oh, look, things are on the mend. We're really connecting now again. And it's really just to conceal something.
Right. Yeah, it's normally there just to be able to hide something. Yeah.
Right? What a bummer, man. That's not fun.
Right.
Oh, man. Oh, okay. So obviously, this is more of a personal question than it is about narcissists, but okay, so now that you're aware, now that you're more aware of like obviously other narcissists and toxic people, would you go no contact like now with other toxic people?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So like there was a YouTube. Let me know if you guys can't hear me. Okay. There was a couple of people that I worked with in one work environment that they were like semi toxic. They were like drama and definitely did not like the drama. Definitely did not like all that. And so I went to the place where I went no contact. Like I blocked them on everything and like Kayla at times is like, "Oh, did you see what they posted? Like this just happened." I was like, "Nope." Like I'm living in blissful ignorance because I don't know that. So yeah, definitely.
Yes. I love that. Someone asked, and I thought it was a good question. Does no contact work?
Yeah, I would say it definitely does. And if it doesn't work, you have a higher chance of it working than not. You know, then there's much more kind of like facts built behind it of like seeing it to happen.
Yeah, yeah. Especially because the whole point of no contact in a lot of ways is to break the trauma bond.
Mhm.
And for a victim to be able to break that, I mean, it's like literal withdrawals. You have to have
Right.
like sobriety. You can't like ease your way out of this. You can try, but it's going to be really slow and really painful, and you may
Right.
never want to let go of that last little bit.
Yeah. No, for sure. Chris, you're good if you want to switch over to YouTube to be able to help out over there. I think I got it set up, but the way I'm streaming it right now makes hopefully the camera doesn't look bad because it looks bad on my side, but I think that's because I'm streaming two things at once.
Sure.
Yeah.
Another.
I definitely wanted to let people know like we got a lot of things coming on. Lisa just mentioned in the chat about the trauma bond recovery, the trauma bond webinar coming up. So how to recognize and overcome narcissistic abuse webinar that's coming up on where'd you put it? April 6th. April 6th. So if you guys haven't checked that out, my link is in the bio. You can grab tickets to be able to come see that. Myself, Lee, and several other people, Kelly, Manjeet, and someone else.
Carrie?
Yes, and yeah, and Carrie are all going to be on that panel. So I'm like, super awesome. Yes, it's gonna be super awesome. It's gonna be a lot of fun because we all interact anyways. So it'll probably be kind of crazy. Period. But would definitely love. Yeah, the audio isn't. But definitely love people to be able to come on with that. I'll try to plug this one in and see if this will work better. But definitely would love people to come visit that out. So check out the link in the bio. Check out my Beacons link because that's going to be super awesome. There's going to be a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah.
All right, YouTube, hopefully the audio and the video is better. We'll see.
I was going to say Lisa always hosts really good webinars.
Yeah.
I have yet to miss one.
I caught the tail end of the last one just because how it fell with everything that was already going on that week. It was kind of crazy, but yeah, no, I'm excited to be on it. I've never been a panelist.
You got this.
Someone says no audio on YouTube. Someone says lost audio. I tried it with the mic to be able to help. YouTube, can you guys hear me or no?
Love and hate technology, right?
Okay, they say they can hear me, so we'll go with that. I don't know if the audio is trying to pick up off of the camera or off of the computer. I know the camera can do it, but I don't know. I guess I have to like tap the camera, see if that makes sense. I don't know. Okay. Anyways, they can hear me, so we're good. So,
One of the. Can I ask another question?
Yeah, go for it.
Someone in the chat had said,
Hey,
"Can you
Chris.
talk more about mirroring us?" And I'd love to hear more on that.
More on mirroring.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So with like, what about it? Like with mirroring, I guess.
Yeah, you go.
With mirroring, a lot of times you see it like the most in like arguments and in like accountability situations where mirroring is actually going to be a way to be able to deflect stuff. So like someone saying like, hey, like I think you're cheating on me, and I'll be like, oh, okay, well, I think you're cheating on me. Like there's really like a lot of stuff that ends up coming back as like mirroring, which some of that is also like projection. It all kind of like comes back and forth a little bit. But like
Right.
with mirroring, a lot of it is like the narcissist wanting to say like, hey, your hurt is not as big as my hurt, your pain is not as big as my pain. I have to be able to match that and be bigger, because you have to remember mine is more important, you know.
Thank you for the reminder. Oh gosh. It's always so refreshing, the reminder.
Yeah. What other questions you got?
Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. So obviously, I know you've been asked this, but I'm gonna ask until I get like an answer that makes sense to my brain.
Okay.
So we know about how a trauma bond affects us.
Mhm.
Does it affect you, or is it because you're sort of orchestrating a lot of what's happening? It doesn't impact you, or not as much?
I don't think it impacts as much to the highest degree, but I don't think a narcissist will get trauma bonded unless it would be with another narcissist, BPD, in that kind of cluster. And even then, the level of trauma bond I don't think is going to be as in depth as it would be with an empath or someone else like that.
Sure,
So,
sure.
but I do think it is possible with another narcissist, BPD, or stuff like that. And part of that is because like I've felt that experience like with that other person. But as far
Right.
as like a trauma bond with someone who's doesn't have those characteristics or traits, I don't see that happening or being able a lot of times.
Sure. So, okay, like in terms of supply, do you ever feel like supply bonded to your supply? Like where you're like, I kind of like need you for my hits, so I have to keep coming back.
Mm,
Or do you just go, you know what, you're no good to me anymore. I gotta go find elsewhere.
I could see that like when they're like complying, like when they're like
Okay.
following suit of like, hey, like this is still good supply in one
Yeah.
sense. Yeah,
Sure. Okay.
I can see
Interesting.
that aspect.
Sure. Interesting. You're so one thing I have to applaud you on that I really like and I need to get better at. You're like you know how to make a point and you do it concise. Like you make the point, you say the point, and then you're over it. I talk it to death.
Well, that's just part of my personality. That's part of my high D personality on the disc, and then Enneagram 8 is just very like direct. So like especially in like a work environment, if there's someone talking and they're not getting to the point, or it's just a lot of like word salad, like I like tune out or get like pissed off because I'm like, you're wasting my time, you know?
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll try to remember that when I speak.
No, you're fine. Okay, so Scott had a question. Do narcissists ever hit rock bottom? This is actually an interesting thought because I've seen a couple different people talk about it in different ways about does a narcissist actually hit rock bottom? And I've seen people who have said yes, there is a rock bottom. Personally, how I've seen it and how I kind of like I guess explain it in one sense is I'm not sure that a narcissist has a rock bottom, because a rock bottom for a narcissist is just a new victim mentality to keep on perpetuating the cycle. So I'm not sure, in my personal opinion, I'm not sure I can actually say that a narcissist actually has a rock bottom, because a rock bottom is just another way, to be able to turn into the victim and keep going on.
Interesting.
Lisa's just gonna spam all night. That's great.
It is. It's a good thing to say.
I know. I know. I have to pick on her. She's good to pick on. What other questions you got? Scott, you're welcome.
We're gonna come with like 20 questions because man, you just like I said, you know how to answer them.
How many questions? Did we already go through all your questions?
No, I have more. I'm just giving you a sec. Trying to figure out how I want to word this.
Gotcha. If you guys are just tuning in, we've got an awesome thing that's coming up on April. Is it 5th or 6th? She just put 5th in the next one. Pretty sure it's April 6th. All right. So April 6th. Lee, check your email. It's Saturday. April 6th is when we're doing a webinar. So Lisa, Stronger Than Before, is putting on a webinar, and there's a bunch of people that are on the panel. So go to my link in the bio and click on that, grab some tickets to be able to come and watch me be one of the panelists. So I'd love to see you guys come out and help support. It's really, really cool. It's going to be really awesome. Also, Brunski loves helping promote the NARC app for me. So thanks, man. So the NARC app, so it's Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community, and that is on Google Play and Apple Store. So go on there. There's like-minded people who have been stuck in these type of relationships, who are still in them, and who are getting out and who are getting healed. So go on and check those out. If you guys want to talk, we do have one-on-ones. If you click my link in the bio as well, go to rawmotivations.com, click one-on-ones. I meet with people daily who are struggling with trauma bonds, who are struggling with the abuse, who are struggling with after the fact, and then wondering, like, was it me? Am I the narcissist? Like, what's going on? So at least Stronger Before, I think you can actually, someone search it for me. Here's a test. Someone on the live who doesn't have the NARC app, search the NARC app and just type in NARC without the periods. I think I might have it fixed. I'm not positive. Scott, thanks so much. I appreciate you, man. But yeah, so check out the NARC app. It's on there. All right, what other questions you got?
Oh, goodness.
I gave you time to prepare even.
I know, okay? I was so fascinated by all you were saying. Okay, so you know how, like, a narcissist lies, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's, like, kind of just par for the course. So now for you personally, like, right, there's, like, such a thing as, like, white lies. And a lot of times white lies are to protect yourself or protect the other person's feelings.
Okay.
Do you now say, or like also victims sometimes lie to their abuser to protect themselves? That's like another example of like lies that are on the more acceptable side. Do you know the difference now? Can you tell the difference? Like, have you always known the difference and just chose to lie anyways? I'm so curious.
I think it's easier for my personality to just say as a lie is a lie.
Okay, I like it. A lie is a lie.
I'm a lot more like black and white, I guess, in a lot of different ways. Like I guess like the only time I would see like, okay, a lie would be acceptable would be in the aspect of the person who's getting abused, where a lie is protecting someone's physical or emotional harm. But besides that, like, you know, even like white lies on other aspects, like maybe not exactly how you define it, but just a lie in general, there's just, you know, period.
I do agree with that. I think there are probably some gray areas, but I respect that you see black or white, and that's cool.
I think for me at least, it needs to be black and white. Like I don't think I have that option anymore. You know, I don't think I have. Let me put it this way: I don't think I have the level of conscience that I need to make sure that I'm always going to hit the right type of lie.
I love that transparency. Thank you. Oh, okay. So I feel like a while ago you had mentioned telling more people in your life about your diagnosis and about what you're doing and all this.
Yes.
Have you done that? How's that been going? Has it been received well?
So I actually connected. Hey, Rebecca. And Rise, Thrive, Repeat. Awesome. I actually connected my actual my Raw Motivations, like Instagram, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. I actually connected stuff to my personal page. I guess it was like 2 weeks ago with some like nervousness. Was actually like decently surprised. There was definitely like a lot of people that had no clue. You know, a lot of people that were like, I didn't even know this half of your world like existed. You know, like my neighbor that had no clue that, you know, was all of a sudden like connected and like saw stuff like that, which is interesting. Like different people that have like reached out and been like, hey, like I'm glad you're talking about this because I actually dealt with, you know, a person with narcissistic traits, or I actually have this. So that was kind of neat. As far as like my parents, I connected with them as well. They both were completely shocked because they knew nothing about any of it at all. But like they seemed like fairly like positive, not like super positive, but they weren't like negative on it. So I take it for a win and keep going like that. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering like how that was, because I knew that was like another level of vulnerability, and I'm sure there was a little bit of anxiety and fear with that.
Yeah, I think it just finally got to the place where it really got to the place when I started having people interact with me, especially like at my current job, where they started seeing my content and saying stuff to me. And then I was at the place where I was like, okay, like I just need to put it all out there. So I have it like linked so people can like find the stuff in one sense, but I'm not necessarily like posting on like my regular page like all the time about narcissistic stuff. I don't really post on it period that much anymore, just because I don't have time. But yeah,
Yeah, you're busy.
my schedule is normally like pretty packed. But good news is we hired a virtual assistant yesterday, so I'm excited about that. So she starts next week. So I'm really excited to be able to get all that plugged in and hopefully have some more free time to be able to make this more of a career jump sooner than later, hopefully.
Yeah, that's awesome. I hope that it is a smooth transition.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. So, but yeah. You got any other questions?
No, because you're so efficient and effective at answering questions, dang it.
I'm all about efficiency. I love efficiency.
You see,
That's what I did. That's what I did for years with Chick-fil-A. Like I would go into stores and I would make them more efficient. That was my goal. Like that's how I got contracted out to like 40, I guess almost 50 stores across the country with Chick-fil-A. I got moved all around to try to go in and be able to work on their drive-thrus and make them better. And like I was like for a good while, like I was like the drive-thru guru. And like I trained some of the stores now that have hit like, you know, crazy amounts, like, you know, your 300s. Technically, I trained some of the first people that now have like the record, which I think is like 400 or 500 an hour. I don't even remember. It's crazy, but yeah, all about efficiency, all about saving like that half a second. How that adds up.
I didn't notice that about your personality at all.
You didn't?
Did you see what Lee put?
Well, he's been spamming the comments, so I've just been ignoring him. You know.
He said, "Working like basically we're talking about like working to do this full time." He said, "Full-time narcissism."
Yes. No, I already have that down. So, hey, you might have an idea on this one. What is a good book suggestion for a victim recovering from narcissistic abuse?
So there's like a couple, and it depends on who the narcissist is, but I'll assume romantic partner. And I really like the book, and Lisa talks about it all the time. Why Does He Do That by Lundy Bancroft.
Okay.
It's such a good book. It really, really is. I feel like that just sort of touches on, it doesn't even have to be about narcissism, it's just about all toxic, abusive men and just people. If it's about parents, Toxic Parents by Susan Forward. Okay. That one's probably my favorite book. I used to promote it endlessly, and I'm like, people are probably tired of hearing it. So,
yeah, there we go. Yeah, why you see that? I just bought the other day. Y'all be so proud of me because everybody suggests that. So I just bought the other day. I've got Psychopath 3. So that's on my to-do list. I'm reading that one. Next month. I have to finish up When Narcissism Comes to Church. That's the one that I'm on this month. But it actually is like really good. I've been really impressed with it so far.
That's really cool. I'm reading Carrie's book right now. It just came in the mail.
I haven't got hers yet, so.
What? Okay, well, I'm going to promote a little bit for Carrie.
There
Here's
you go.
Carrie's book, Love You More. It's very good so far. I'm on chapter 5.
That's awesome.
I'm invested now. I can't look away. I have to finish it.
That's awesome. I know she wants to do a live, and I'm like, I just have to figure out where I fit in my schedule where I read the book first.
With her on Saturday, so that's why I'm like, I gotta dig in.
Yeah, you better. There's like tons of friends in the comments. Gosh, everybody's here.
Yeah, hi everybody.
It's a whole party. Oh, Lee got his today.
So did Heather. Or she wasn't mine. I got it. Okay, so you did get it today. Gotcha. Oh, that's good. Yes, Love You More, Carrie McAvoy. Thank you. Yeah, next time I'm going to have to come with like 20 questions. No, that's not even enough. 25. You'll go through them way too quickly.
You just need a giant list. But we'll get some other questions. We'll get some other questions popped up here. I want to see when I get like a guest request.
Sure. Yeah, and when that happens, I can
you're good.
Out. Early bedtime, as you know.
Currently,
this is late for me.
Yeah, I don't see it. It doesn't show that she's on.
Do 27
so.
questions in 40 minutes.
Hey, we can do them rapid fire. You drop a question, I get a minute in and out. Audio's going in and out. I don't know what to do with the audio. Oh, last time the audio was messed up on YouTube, I just hit the computer.
Ooh, this is a good one. Can we talk about narcs that don't cheat physically? Like, don't talk to women because Like, I mean, I think it happens a lot for like, because in my experience, I feel like some narcissists they think too highly of themselves to go do that step of cheating, but yet are not beyond the fact of having like a full blown emotional cheating affair, right?
Yeah.
Maybe there was physical, cheating that I was not aware of. That's always I'm open to the possibilities.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't know why the audio. They keep saying the audio is going out on my laptop, but I don't know why it's going out. I need to like rework the audio on my laptop for some reason. Yeah. So like, there is narcissists out there that don't cheat. I mean, I normally say like all narcissists cheat at least to some degree, but as far as like, okay, maybe they're not, being with other women, maybe they're, maybe it's other things that they're putting a higher priority than the relationship. Maybe it's their friends, maybe it's their hobbies, maybe it's, something else. Maybe it's just the fact that they're freeloading off of you and they're not actually working on being invested on anything. Like they'll find anything and everything to put over you, and so they might not be cheating with another person, but they're probably cheating as far as they're not giving you any time, love, or attention.
Well, thanks for that new perspective. Look, I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I was robbed and cheated so much. Heather had mentioned that people were asking about narc stalking the previous supply when the narc is discarded.
Yeah, no, definitely. That happens all the time.
Thank you for that confirmation.
Let's see. YouTube, I'll try to plug in a mic and we'll see if it picks it up because the mic normally works. All right, YouTube, you can probably at least hear me. You might not be able to hear the other person, but we'll see. What was the question again?
It was about when the narc stalks the ex when they're discarded.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Narc stalking is super fun. So, I mean, like really what happens is like they'll stalk the person, like they'll keep looking back at that person, because like it's just a game. Like it's still a game of control. It's a game if you can come back. It's a game along the lines of like, hey, does this person still want me? Does this person still out there? And it's oftentimes going to happen because they either don't believe what's going on or they think like, oh, like I can get this person back. Like I know some narcissists that completely like don't even think that what the victim's putting out there is even real. Like I know of like even like someone that was that was like, oh, like they put up pictures of them getting married. They were like, yeah, that's not real. Like they're still in love with me. Like that type of like thought process and like conceited like mindset in one sense.
Right. That's insane. This is I mean, I'm just reading the comments because I've got nothing. I don't have like several things that I'm managing over here. So just because someone broke your heart and cheated doesn't make them a narcissist.
I mean, that's fair. I don't know how to contact Catherine without logging out, and I don't want to log out. I don't see her on here, so I don't really know. Anyways, just go ahead and ask another one.
Sure.
Let's see. Someone says, can you explain why narcs still persist if you don't respond whatsoever and they're going to jail? Genuinely confused. Yeah, because you're putting a boundary on them. Like a lot of times that's why narcissists go to jail when you follow like the laws, because they don't care about the law. They don't care about another person's boundaries. They're just going to go right over those. And so like, there's a narcissist I know that he's in jail. He's in jail because of his abuse on another person, and he's still writing letters. Like she still gets letters in the mail from the narcissist. Well, you're probably more sociopath to be honest, but like she's still getting letters from this person because they don't follow those boundaries. And the thing is, like, that finally got to the place where she got the letters that she actually like responded and was like, hey, like I don't want anything to do with you, all this kind of stuff. And I was like, wrong move, because you just showed them that you were interested enough to respond. And like she was like, I never even like thought of it that way. And I was like, yeah, you just played into his hand because you just reacted. And I was like, what you need to do, and I gave her like steps. We talked about so much of stuff. But I was like, what you need to do is like like change your address to a PO box, have it sent to a PO box, get a friend of yours to go check your mail for you, and take out his letters and file it. That way you can have it for legal purposes. But that way you're not looking at them on a day to day basis.
Yep, that's great advice.
Yeah, so if you're struggling to block your narcissist, so couple things. Number one, I always say block, go no contact. I say that every single time, and like it's amazing how many times I say block and go no contact, and everybody's like, "Oh, I'm no contact, but I got a text." And I'm like, "That's not no contact, okay?" Like when we say block, we say block, ghost, block on every social media, every platform, and block. Okay. Now a couple people are like, okay, well, that doesn't work for email or that doesn't work for my phone or anything like that. Okay, if you're running into an issue where you're trying to block and you're getting calls from multiple numbers, then take a hard, long look and say, hey, is my physical, emotional, and spiritual safety enough for me to change my phone number? Okay. Like a lot of people are like, okay, I can't change my phone number. Like I need it for work. I need it for this. Okay. If you absolutely need it for work, if that's your only way to contract with work, you've got it out there on a bunch of signs or whatever like that. Here she is, I'll invite her. You got on a bunch of signs, whatever, then don't change your phone number. Okay. But then invest in a good blocker. So there's a couple ones. Sorry, Catherine, I'm on a roll. There's a couple blockers that are out there. So you can get specific blockers. You can get specific blockers through your phone carrier. So if you have Verizon, if you have your AT&T, if you have T-Mobile, if you're in other countries and you have other stuff, I'm sorry, I have no clue what you guys have. But if you have different things like that, you can actually get a blocker to be able to block all the numbers that come from the block numbers, like the star 67, like the no number, the no contact, all that kind of stuff. You can get blockers for that. There's another one out there. There's two things. Let me find the one. There's another one out there that I downloaded and I started using the other day, and it's like so stupid efficient. I like got locked in on like the 15-day trial and I couldn't get it off my phone. So that's why I know that it actually works. So there's one out there that you can do, which I think is called, I can't find it because it's on my phone. I can't see my phone. I think it's called Robo Killer. Is what it's called. It's a little like blue icon. It looks like a robot. That one, they have a free 15 days, and then they also have a paid version, and I think it's $40 a year. So it's really not that expensive for your own peace of mind, but it like blocks everything. Because like I downloaded it, I had Kayla try to call me from like star 67. I had like different things that I tested out, and it doesn't go through. You can change all the settings. There's a lot of stuff you can do. Now there's another one. So let me pull it up so I can give you all this tidbit of knowledge. Okay. I had someone tell me about this in a one-on-one today. So check this out. So everybody that's on here, check out. It's called Block Sender. Yeah. So I don't know the actual web address. So I guess someone can type it in. It's app.blocksender.io. And basically, you create an account and then you can put in that person's email. And what it does is it actually makes it look like a fake bounce back. Like it's a fake bounce back. So they email your email, and this block sender actually catches that email and sends it back. And you can program it so whenever they send you an email, it skips the trash and it completely disappears. Like you never see it, which is great for victims because then they don't have to worry about actually seeing that or have it in their delete or spam, and they go and look and then they start thinking through that. So that is an option out there. Those two that those two that I've started to try and test that I'm trying to offer as like help for other people out there.
Can you repeat the email one, Ben?
Yeah, it's called app.blocksender.
Thank you. Benefit from that.
So I have not the email one. I have not tested out personally, but that was given to me by a person that I had a one-on-one with today, and they said it worked really well. Obviously, what I would say is like use that like early on because it only works to be able to like the goal would be you block them early on that. so that they don't have like other emails that go through, and then all of a sudden it's like, so like you could have another email address that would email you, so there is that aspect. They could keep changing their email address, but if you do that early on and they do it from that first email, they're going to get an email coming back that makes them think that your email is actually completely shut down and discontinued.
Sure.
So
Okay.
that would be the goal with that might help.
Okay, cool.
Catherine, are you there? It like says you're like there, but I don't see a video.
I'm here. I don't know. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Actually, I just can't see you.
I don't know why it's doing that. I wonder if I should. How do I? If you leave and you come back out, do you get like at the bottom like 3 options? And in the center it says props. That's how you get this video up, assuming that you have like the newer, the newer version.
I've never heard of that.
So I'd have to exit and try that. I'm not sure, and then I can just comment in your comment section. And I have an option to co-host. That's all I'm seeing.
So it should.
I want to go out and try coming back in. Okay, I'll do that. Hold on.
It should let you.
Like once you're in, you have to like.
Why? Hang on.
I love this feature, but also so many issues with it.
No, for some reason they changed the settings. That's why it's not letting me. It says add up to 1 guest.
Weird. Okay, so let me go out then so that Kat can come in.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. If y'all don't follow her, abuse is abuse, follow her. So she's awesome. All right, cool. We'll try that. Thanks so much. See ya. Oh, and then when I did it, now it said add up to 2 guests. So, sorry, that's weird. Hey there.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you? Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you. So, glad it worked out. Yeah, sorry about that. It was kind of weird.
If you could guests.
What's that?
Do you want to add her back if you can add up to 2 guests now?
Yeah, we can. Bree, do you want to come back on? But yeah, so yeah, great to meet you. Sorry, when you first connected, I was like on a roll with this whole no contact thing. So
Yep, finish the roll.
But yeah, oh, here we go. She's coming back in now. I'm gonna take a look at YouTube real quick because there's a couple people that like said some stuff. I want to make sure I don't miss it.
There we go. Hi, Kat. Hi, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, like officially. Isn't this so cool? So cool, you guys. Like just being in this community with you, but not having met you yet. How awesome!
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. There's a bunch of people around. So, but yeah. So thanks for being willing to come live and joining. Do you want to kind of, I guess like both of you in one sense, but like Kat, you want to go first, kind of like tell people a little bit about your content and kind of like what you do?
Yeah, definitely. So my content is mostly based on my experience with dealing with narcissists. My dad's a narcissist, and I have a couple ex-boyfriends that have narcissistic personalities. So I also have a degree in psychology. So my platform is just a really, really nice combination of what I've observed, what I've seen, what I've learned, what I've heard, and just kind of tools for other people to take with them dealing with narcissists.
Awesome.
And you do coaching too, Kat, right? Yep, and I'm coaching.
Super cool.
Thanks.
Bree, go ahead and introduce yourself again.
Yeah, sure. Hi, Bree. Abuse is abuse. It's such a long story. I had abusive parents, then I had abusive friends and some exes. Some were narcissists, some were just toxic. Here I am today sharing my experience to connect with others, and I coach, and I just like to be in this community to help as much as I can. The end. Yep.
Sweet. So I'm Ben. I'm on the other side of all of that, unfortunately. So been with my wife going on 9 years now. Been in therapy now for just going on over a year, and been working on myself and trying to grow and trying to change from the narcissism that I've been struggling with, from the thoughts, from the feelings, from the lack of empathy, from like everything that's really put my wife through hell for a good period of time. So during The majority of those was spent cheating, gaslighting, lying, and proud of that. But that's my past. That's the story that I have. What I'm also remembering from a day-to-day basis, so I don't go back to it. And on this platform to bring awareness about narcissism, healing, growth, and change to people out there. So, in doing that with social media, so I can explain some of it from a narcissistic standpoint, and kind of like sometimes try to break it down a lot of times, like analytically, of like how it comes across, how it sounds, how it interacts. But then also just trying to be real with people of what it actually is, how it is, and how much damage it does. So, Bree, you do coaching as well, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. You didn't mention that, so I'm gonna make sure that people heard that as well. So both of them do coaching. Yeah. So I do coaching as well. So I have one-on-ones that people can schedule on my website, Raw Motivations. Another plug. I don't know if she's in the chat because I haven't seen it, but we do have an event coming up April 6th. Which is going to be super cool. Webinar that I'm one of the panelists on, so I'm like super excited about that. You can get a ticket in my link in the bio. So we'd love to have some people grab some of those to help support, but also just come to be able to take a look at identifying and overcoming narcissistic abuse. So we're super excited about that. So.
What triggered you to go and to look and decide that you had narcissism in the first place and get into?
So part of it, so it's like a million different things. One of the best ways is to explain it by referring a lot of people to my YouTube video, Self-Aware Narcissist, because I go through a lot of that. A lot of combinations of like early on when I worked with Chick-fil-A, I worked in developing teams and I worked in developing people. And as I did that, I had to start taking a lot of look at myself and the teams I was with. So like DISC personality, Myers-Briggs, 16 personality, Enneagram, Strength Finders, all that kind of stuff. Started identifying different stuff in my life that I was like, when I look at their sheet and I look at my sheet, it looks like completely different. Like something's there, something's different. And like growing up, I always had like a disconnect with empathy, with sympathy. Like, it's kind of like a joke growing up. Like when my parents would see me like tear up or cry, they'd be like, whoa, like let's put this on the calendar. Cause this like never happens. Like it wasn't something that was normal, at all. And then as we got married, that was a part of the concept of like, hey, like I thought everything was going to get fixed. I thought it was just going to be normal. I thought life was going to turn back to a normal state because that's what people do, right? They get married and blah, blah, blah. But then when we got married and like nothing changed because I hadn't dealt with any of the triggers and things that was underlying. And so as a result, my cycle of, going from person to person, girl to girl, just continued into marriage, into like the cheating aspect. So it got to the place where it was going through a lot of different stuff. Was in a pretty crazy affair with a girl who had BPD and narcissistic traits. And I started seeing a lot of what was naturally coming out of me starting to be used towards me. And not necessarily like mirroring, but like that was her personality. And so that was kind of crazy. There was a part where it contributed to building a little bit of a trauma bond between the two of us, which was very weird, super toxic, ridiculously big on like triangulation because I was doing that. It was more like quadrupulation, I guess, because it was more like with 4 different people. So it was pretty bad. It was really bad. And then
You should coin that, by the way.
and then got to the that's not something good that you want to coin. And then got to the place where I had a moment of kind of like clarity when I was in the kitchen one time with Kayla and we were talking through like how I like didn't connect with people, how I didn't really like feel about other people, like all this kind of stuff. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, I feel different. I was like, maybe I'm just like a sociopath or something. And so like we looked it up and we looked at and we were both kind of like, no, like that doesn't match. And she's like, maybe you're a narcissist. And I like looked it up and I like read through it and I was like, no, I'm not a narcissist. Forget that. And so I made sure to go to other people, like convince them that I wasn't a narcissist, and then tell them to go back and tell Kayla that I was a narcissist. That way I could be justified in what I was doing because they didn't see the narcissism on their side. But then, like slowly over a period of time, the girl with BPD, a couple of the things, she brought up therapy. I eventually decided to go to therapy probably like 6 months later, after saying I was going to go to therapy for 6 months. And then finally went to therapy. I went to EMDR therapy for first little bit of time, and that kind of cleared like some trauma in the past that I didn't really know or that I didn't view as trauma, or think that I had. It's kind of one of those things. I was like, I didn't have trauma. Like I didn't have a bad childhood or like anything like that. So that kind of like cleared a couple things. I worked with them for a little bit, and then when I left EMDR, I kind of started searching for like therapists who dealt with narcissism, and went through I think like 3 or 4 others until I like landed with the one I'm with now, who's like taught like narcissism and like taught what's the word? I'm like blanking. Wow. He's taught like sexual addictions and stuff like that. So like she has like a really big background in like teaching, like she's taught the book on some sections of like narcissism and like sex addictions, things like that. So it's kind of like right up my alley of someone who could like just call me on my shit and like really just be like, hey, this is what's happening. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
That's what you need, is to be called on your shit just directly.
Yes. Yeah. Being called on my shit from someone I either respect or view as a safe place that I can actually hear that. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. If I get called on that by someone else, or if I get called on that from someone else that I don't feel, has the right to or whatever, there's really, now that I'm getting like working on my healing and my growth in one sense, like now my wife can call me out more. And it's easier for us to process that. But besides how it is now, like I've had my therapist and then probably only like one other person in my life that's actually been able to like call me out. And me not like stomp over them kind of thing.
You find people as a safe place?
What's that?
You said a safe place is another place that you can be called out. Like, who would be a safe place? If not your wife, who was it before?
It was an affair partner.
Okay. The one with BPD?
Actually, no, the one right after that.
Okay.
But that one was the one that kind of changed a lot of different things in my life, and the affair kind of went backwards, I guess, of how you'd have like a normal affair. Like instead of it being like friends, emotional, and then physical, it was more like friends, physical, emotional, friends, and then cut each other out.
What was it that made her a safe place?
I was going to ask that too.
Gosh. I don't know that I have all the answers to that right now.
Okay. A little more insight.
I love how you're on the live for like 5 minutes and you're already asking me harder questions than people have asked in a while. It's all good.
I like your style.
Liz, your moderator?
Yeah, I'm sorry. No, I'm just kidding. No, he's hilarious. He's awesome. I'm trying to see where we are. Yeah, where are we? I was trying to see if we had questions or if y'all want to ask more questions.
Oh, I have a lot of questions.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so like, I know a lot. I know a lot of it's like, okay, so what triggers you probably the hardest for your narcissism to come out? And like, do you even have control of that?
I guess it depends on what exactly with narcissism, but like definitely like lack of respect, lack of listening. So like I have to be like super careful with it a lot of times, especially with like my daughter Sophia, because she's in like that awesome rebellious 2.5, 3 stage, where she'll just be like no to everything, and like that will like piss me off. So like the dogs will piss me off really easy. If I tell them to go lay down, they don't go lay down. Like that is like a trigger. What's that?
Because it's perceived disrespect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like not be disrespect from them.
Right.
So that's a big trigger.
Yeah, that one can be a pretty big one. See, someone's asked a question on YouTube because they still see value in you. again, like part of that is kind of like a skewed concept, because a lot of times the narc isn't seeing value in anybody but themselves, but they're seeing like who they can control and who they can manipulate. So if you want to look at in that aspect, you could see like, hey, they view value as far as like they can still come back in your life and they can still get something from you, or they can still abuse you. That would be the aspect. But sometimes people confuse the aspect of hoovering to be that the narcissist cares, and that's not the case.
Right. I think that if it's a victim or a survivor of a narcissist asking, do they see value in you? They're probably like, value in your, or do they see my worth? Are they starting to see my worth? And it's like, your worth to them is whatever they're trying to obtain. Right.
Your worth is what they can get. Your worth is what they can tap out of you. And that's why you'll see a lot of people who are with a narcissist, and like, I guess we could put the term financial narcissism on it, where like that's the main strain of like they're just bleeding the other person dry. Like I had a one-on-one where like I've had some really awesome one-on-ones recently, but like I had a one-on-one where like they called up their narcissist and said, "Hey, like out of everything you've done to me, like I'm gonna have to file for bankruptcy because I don't have any more money. You have wasted it all." They got home 45 minutes later, and the narcissist was packing up to leave.
Yeah.
So I've told people before, like if they're trying to come after your money, tell them you're bankrupt. Like just find some way to get them out. Because literally I have a video on YouTube coming out tomorrow about the Tinder swindler, because like I just had a one-on-one the other day with someone who was like the exact same thing. Like very, very similar, of like the narcissist like bleeding them dry, like asking them for money or like asking them for things and things like that. And that's such a real thing. Like I feel like early on when I first got on the platform, there was like a big strain of a lot of narcissists, a lot of people's comments about their narcissist like freeloading and stuff like that. And then now there's even more people that are saying like how much like the narcissist like took from them, like not just emotionally, all that kind of stuff, but like monetarily. It's kind of crazy.
I would second that. Mine were my parents, but yeah, like my parents had no problem taking, like, if I was starving, like literally living less than paycheck, if I called and said, "Can you guys give me like $50 for groceries?" It was an absolute no. But they had no problem, like, we need money because we need our health insurance. Come to find out, to drugs or some weird thing my mother wanted to buy, and no problem letting me quite literally starve so that she could feed her habits later. Yeah.
And Kat, I'm sorry, was it your dad that was a narcissist?
Yeah, my dad's the narcissist.
Okay.
Same thing. It's always like, what can I get out of you? What can I get out of you? Even as his children, it's not like, let me borrow you this money for a car. It's let me borrow you this if you owe me this, and there's these stipulations, and it's always like he's trying to get something out of any encounter, any conversation. It's like, what can I sneak away from her without her noticing? And that's just how he exists in every conversation.
I think one of the popular questions I get and I see a lot on a lot of lives is, do narcissists love their kids? Or like, what does that look like as far as like, what is actual love from a narcissist to their children?
Yeah, can you answer that?
Yeah. I was giving it to you because you had the narcissist dad.
Tell you what I think. Yeah.
What's up?
Closure.
Give us some closure here, Ben. Help us out.
So here, I thought I was gonna pass it off to y'all. Okay. You just bounce it back. So like I guess for me, how I've explained it at times before is a narcissist shows love and affection to their kids as long as they're getting something out of them. Like as long as they're gaining something from that. So if they can appear as the put together dad or mom, or they can have something that the kids are being a form of supply, then they're beneficial. But the minute that kid turns to their 3s or turns to their 13s and starts being rebellious, then that supply all of a sudden is lower, and that supply is something that's not as attractive to them, because like, hey, you exist to serve me, you're not serving me anymore, so then what is the point of this? So then you see them a lot of times like dip out.
Yeah, that's very much my case with my dad. So it's just kind of like the conclusion I think we've all came to on the other end, which is it's all about what we can do for you and the image we can give you. And something my dad is still very hung up on to this day, when I've brought this up to him, you know, since I've healed and gotten on this topic, and he says, well, look at the pictures though, like look at the photo albums, you know, like we did these things, and happy, and it's like, the photo albums, what are you talking?
And I felt that so much. I felt that
thinks I'm a narcissist, but like, look at the pictures.
Yeah.
Yes, my mom was a qualified mother because she sat by my bed when I was asleep. She never fed me, clothed me, taught me anything. She was totally absent, doing drugs, whatever. But apparently while I was sleeping, she sat by my bed, which qualified her to be best mom award ever. And by the way, I don't even know if that's true.
I love how you said apparently, because that's key.
Yeah, allegedly. Yeah. Well, the implications in the mind are really strong, right? Like your mind, she probably believes it.
Oh, I'm sure she does. Yeah.
Yeah, Heather said in the comments, my siblings and I were miserable behind every family photo.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, just because you're smiling, you're conditioned to smile. It doesn't mean you feel it.
Absolutely. There you can almost see like the discomfort behind our smiles.
When you think about that, that's exactly what the narcissist does in the romantic relationships when they tell you to look back on, like, look how good we are together. Like, look at everything we've done. Look at everything we've been through. Like Lee would say, look at everything that they put you through. But like they're basically trying to play like a mental photo album of your mind of like everything that happened in the past, of all those like good moments. And more often than not, a lot of times people latch onto those good moments, and that's what keeps them there a little bit longer, or that's what keeps them doubting themselves after they left or stuck in a trauma bond.
Absolutely. Yeah. You think like with you having a daughter but being in therapy, are you able to correct those that like lack of compassion, or how is that what's working there?
I'm definitely trying, that's for sure. There's a big aspect that like my wife is a huge supporter of that, and it's really good to be able to I guess I would say like mimic or like mirror those attributes in a positive way. I was like watching her interact, and then watching Sophia get upset, and then I'm like, this moment I probably need to take a pause and think like, how do I need to take a pause? Because like I think maybe I said it to Bree when we were on here, but like there was like one time that Sophia was like, she was like standing there like trying to turn the door over. That's not very sympathetic in my head, but like more. Definitely a lot of my, like, it's talk therapy obviously, but like a lot of my therapy is along those lines with the cognitive therapy, and then a lot of the stuff that I do outside of therapy with my warrior group, which involves a lot of stacking, is all like cognitive therapy based, and a lot of that is also how I coach people on one-on-ones, is kind of going through cognitive therapy, which for me, like in this type of environment, is just breaking it down from, what are you feeling, to what are the emotions underneath, to what is the fable that you're telling yourself, and what are the facts that either support or deny that, and then what's the new story that we need to create to kind of rewire that initial trigger, and then how are we going to implement it on a day-to-day basis so that you're not running to those triggers and running to that false story each day.
That's so fabulous. That's so good to hear.
Yeah.
And it works, and you feel like it's working.
I do.
And it's working for your group too.
Yeah, it definitely has been working. It definitely has been working for me. Heather said.
Heather asked if you could talk more about the stacking process, and she said you can use our story.
Yeah.
I love that.
So I don't think I need to see. I don't think I have it up here. I don't know the fastest way to pull it up. Let me pull it up through my Warrior app. So I'm a part of a group so one of the challenges, you asked me what helped me change. And I left out one important thing as well, because I went through a thing called Wake Up Warrior Challenge, and that was a 30-day challenge with a group called Warrior that is absolutely incredible, and it is a intense process of basically some of the premise starting off is to be a man and to stop fucking lying and to own up. And the reason why why like the marriages are awful, the reason why connection is awful is not because of the other person, but because typically the guy doesn't have the balls to actually own up to what he's done and who he is and actually work on that. So with the group, it really hones in on a lot of different things, but it hones in on 4 main categories, and that's body, being, balance, and working to make sure that all of those are aligned every single day. And so with that, it's really hard a lot of times for people with narcissism, say a lot of times guys in general, to tap into emotions and how to process those. So a lot of it is along the lines of like cognitive therapy. And so sorry, I'm like pulling it up here. And so the cognitive therapy, like the stacks that we have, so they're called stacks. It basically walks you through like dealing with the story. So kind of like what I just said earlier about the feelings to the fable, to the facts, to the news story, something that like walks you through. So I've done these like several times. There's a couple people that I've sent them to that have actually seen it. I know. For the people that's on here, I know I've sent one to Heather, and I know I've sent one to Lee, and I think I've sent one to Stronger than before. I've done like gratitude stacks, but like a really good example is I did one on Heather, and she said I could talk about it, so it's okay. I did one on Heather. What was the date on it? Let me see. I did one on Heather on February 20th, so just a little bit ago, and I did an irritation stack on her. So like I was irritated, I was frustrated because like we had talked about going live for a long time and it hadn't happened, and I had a frustration built up, and I also had a preconceived notion of why we hadn't got live, or why stuff wasn't matching up. And so going through the stacking process, I went through the stacking process, and it makes you kind of think through what's the story you're telling yourself. Now, what's the possibility of that story is not true? What would be the outcome, or what would be the other story? And it talks you through like a couple other different scenarios. And so I wrote down a couple different scenarios, and then like at the end, like I was honestly kind of nervous. I was like, I don't know if I should send this to Heather. I was like, it's either going to help us get better or it's gonna like break us apart, kind of thing. Because I was just nervous. I was like, I've sent a rage stack to one guy before, and it actually turned out really good. And then I sent the irritation stack to her, and it turned out really good because she was like, I see where you're coming from, and like the conclusion you got to after you kind of like redid the story the correct way. She was like, it is true, and this is the background about all this stuff that you don't know that validates like the actual story, which wasn't what I was originally thinking at the first time. And so it's just kind of cool to be able to work through that, but also like help change my mind so I don't automatically have that thing like hanging over, like stuck on me,
Right. So the goal is to start perception checking instead of just deciding. So you sent a message that basically
she says I can tell the details. All right, do you guys want to hear the details?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Hopefully it's not too confusing. So all right, so it starts off. I'll just read it. Okay. I'll just read it. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. It doesn't like annoy people. It's called Wake Up Warrior. So Wake Up Warrior Challenge is where you go to do the 30-day challenge, and then I'm part of the shelter after that. All right, so this is a stack. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for like reading it. No, I'm just kidding. This is a stack called an irritation stack. So what domain of the core 4 are you stacking? Balance. So that's my relationship with others. Who or what are you stacking? I'm stacking Heather. In this moment, why has Heather triggered you to feel so irritated? And I said the fact that we don't do lives anymore. And it says, what is the story you're telling yourself created by this trigger about Heather and the situation? And I wrote down, Heather and I used to do dual lives a decent amount, and it was a lot of fun and really good. We got off a little bit with holidays, and I missed a week or so. Then I asked her about going live one time, and she couldn't because of her long-term COVID symptom. This was fine, but then it started to happen more and more where we didn't go live at all for the past 3 months or so. Then she mentioned me one time of how I never invited her to go live with me, and that really annoyed me. I had asked multiple times before, and she had turned me down because of being sick. Then it feels like she guilt trips me because we haven't been doing them. Also, she knows that I go live every Thursday, so she could have asked or mentioned it at any time, but she hasn't. The last part of the story that I really struggle with is her saying at times that she can't do lives and has COVID long haul symptoms almost every week and almost every Thursday, even when she's just, but then I see her go live maybe the day before, the day after with someone else. Does she have a problem with me? Okay, so that's all I dumped out. It said, describe the single word feelings that arise for you when you tell yourself that story. And I said, annoyed, hurt, frustrated, unfair, slighted, and confused. They said, describe the specific thoughts and actions that arise when you tell yourself this story. When I tell myself this story, it makes me confused what happened or why she appears to be avoiding going live with me. What evidence do you have to support this as being absolutely true? And I said, I know she hasn't gone live with me, but has with other people. I don't have evidence that she doesn't want to go live with me. And then it says, what are the non-emotional facts about the situation with Heather that triggered you to feel irritated? And I said, Heather wasn't able to go live with me. Heather said she missed doing lives, and Heather has gone live with other people. So all those like facts. And then it says, if you ignore this current irritation, how will it lead to anger and eventually rage? And I said, it will lead to annoyance, just like the other night, how I felt and came across to her and showed up in annoyance. And I feel like there is something unresolved in me about all this, which is why I'm doing a stack. It said, regardless of your irritation trigger with Heather and the original story, that's that big section I read about doing dual lives and everything. I'm not going to read the whole thing again. But that original story that I'm telling myself, what do you truly want for you in and beyond this situation? And I said, I want to work well with Heather and not have any frustration or annoyance with each other. And then it says, what do you want for Heather in and beyond this situation? I want her to thrive and grow as a creator, coach, and a person. What do you want for Heather and you and beyond this situation? I said, I want us to be friends, to be honest, to connect well, and continue to support one another. And then it says, let's take a look at your original story. Again, I'm not going to read that giant paragraph. And what you say you want, I want to work well with Heather and not have any frustration or annoyance with each other. If you keep telling yourself the original story, will it ultimately give you what you want? No. Are you ready to let go of your original story and expand your mind and reality around this trigger and create a new power story that will assure you to get you what you want? I said yes. So letting go of the original story, again, that giant block, and reviewing what you want, I want to work well with Heather and not have any frustration or annoyance with each other. And knowing that you can ultimately create any story you desire, what is your new desired version of the story? And I wrote, Heather has been very busy with a lot of clients and has been struggling a lot with her health and a busy life. She cares about me and always supports me. That support might not look the same, but the change in support is not malicious in nature. And it says, what evidence can you see to prove this desired story is accurate? You could weaponize yourself to move forward today. And on here, I said, I know she supports me and encourages me. I believe she would tell me if she had a problem or an issue with me. And it says, stepping back and reviewing what you want. I want to work well with Heather and not story. Heather's been very busy with a lot of clients and has been struggling a lot with her health and a busy life. She cares about me and always supports me. That support might not look the same, but the change is support and not malicious in nature. Does that give you what you want? And I said yes. And I said, stepping back from what have you created so far, why has the irritation stack been extremely positive? It is positive because I need to make sure I feel in my thought and put people in a good light. I'm not sure what I was saying there. Feel my thoughts and put people in a good light. It reminds me of two sides to the story, and I can't read into things too much. Looking at how positive this irritation trigger has been, what is the singular lesson on life that you're taking from this stack? To trust and believe the best in people. What is the most significant revelation or insight you're leaving this irritation stack with, and why do you feel that way? To watch the thoughts I have. It's easy to assume and go down a rabbit hole about something someone has or hasn't done and to put more weight on something than I should. Compared to how you felt when you started this irritation stack, what are the singular words you would describe how you feel now in completing it? I said better, okay, and lower.
For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. I think that was awesome. And I think it was great that you sent it to Heather so that you guys could improve your relationship.
Yeah,
I agree.
And it was cool. It did improve our relationship so much that she said I could share it. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I think that's awesome too, to kind of see the evidence of it working in your life and in your relationships, to kind of just to validate you to keep doing things like that, and the irritation stacks, and sending it to people.
The more I've done stuff with Warrior, because I've been here, ask me to type it in. Wake up It's a Wake Up Warrior challenge. The more and more that I've done stuff with that group, the more and more I realize how it is so crucial and so essential for me to do more in the group, for me to really be in it. So I've been in the Warrior Shelter now for 2 years, and so this is coming up. Yeah, this is coming up on my third year now, and like each year it's been like, oh, I need to invest more time in it, and then I do, and I see the work, and then I might slack off some, and I'm like, wait, I need to get back into it because it is like really truly powerful. But it's also hard too, because I mean, you can see just in reading it, like reading it is fairly fast, but like actually like typing that whole thing out, like it takes a while to do an irritation stack. The rage stack is absolutely the longest. Like it's probably double the length of that. Like the rage stack is like stupid long. But then like ones that like I do like all the time is I really have been pushing over the past year or so, like the gratitude stacks and discovery stacks. So let me see here. Yeah, so we got statistics. So it's good for me to actually put it out there because it's actually not that impressive since I've been with them going on 2 years now. So I've done 163 discover stacks.
Wow.
And then I've done 172 grateful stacks so far. And then like irritation stacks, I've done 16, angry stacks 13, rage stacks 12. So like I haven't done as many of those. I've also done like 8 prayer stacks, 5 happy stacks, 4 appreciation stacks, 3 sad stacks, and 3 excited stacks. So like they have a bunch of different ones. But like my goal like this year of like different things that I'm working on is I'm trying to do like multiple stacks a day. And like if you do like power stacking, which is like really crazy, power stacking is like a discover stack, like 2 gratitude stacks, and then like a mega stack, which is like your rage stack. But that like takes a lot of time, and so but it's stuff that's one aspect that I'm like super excited about making motivations eventually like full time so that I can have full control of my schedule. Like there's people in the warrior group that literally, like one of the coaches that I was a part of the fact map the other day says that his time for the warrior stuff each day is 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. Like 3 hours he has designated to work on this stuff because like that's how important it is. That's how big it is. And it really is very transformational, that's for sure.
I have to go, but that was magical.
It's past your bedtime, Bree.
It really is. It is past my bedtime.
It's okay. We'll make a night owl out of you.
Yeah, thank you for letting me be here, Kat. It was so nice to meet you and see you, and I love the questions you had for Ben. Keep on going.
Yeah, thank you. You too.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Yeah, and
thanks, Bree. Appreciate it.
I'm gonna message you. Thank you, Ben. Have a good night.
All right, take care.
Bye.
See ya. All right, bye.
I did see one question that popped up when we were talking about what triggers you, and when you brought up disrespect, and somebody's question was, what do you do that makes you feel that you earn respect automatically?
I mean, from the narcissistic side, nothing. I should just have the respect of everybody, because like that's that entitlement piece of thinking like, how could you not respect me? Like I'm the person that you should respect. I'm the best person, And so like it's like a concept and a thought that I have to recalibrate and rework through a lot of times of like I'm not the best. Like there's a lot of stuff that I've done wrong. There's a lot of stuff that I've screwed up. There's a lot of people that I've hurt, and I have to focus on that. I've got a podcast coming out I think tomorrow morning that I've been really excited about, but I like waited because right now I'm doing the podcast like weekly because I don't have time to do them daily. But it talks about the past, because a lot of times people ask me, they're like, what keeps you changing? What keeps you continuing to move forward and stuff like that? And like I've had people ask, like, is this your way to like, do like your penance? Is this your way to like, get forgiveness for all the people that you've hurt or the lives that you've damaged or stuff like that? And like, honestly, like I sat and I thought about it for a while, and then I like made the podcast coming out tomorrow morning. But it's just like the idea of like, for me, like I have to look at the past. As a narcissist, I never looked at the past, and I would never look at the future. It was just the here and now. I couldn't make a 1-year plan. I couldn't make a 5-year plan because I couldn't think that far out. It was like here and now is the only thing that matters. Preserving the image, keeping who I am, the top dog, the person that everybody respects or likes or whatever. But I wouldn't look at the past either. Like, the past is the past. We ignore that. We keep moving on. We only look at the next thing. And now as I look at it, I'm like, I have to look at the past, not to live in the past, but I have to look in the past so that I don't go back to that, so I don't revisit that. And that's one of the things that like keeps me going each and every day, is like, if I'm not changing, if I'm not working on myself, if I'm not growing, then I'm just going to revert back to it. And I can't do that because I've been there, done that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go back into that cyclical lifestyle that never gets anywhere. And it just feels like I'm spinning my wheels on like every aspect of life and still not touching on anything substantial.
So it's not enjoyable for you to think and behave that way.
I would say it was in the moment until I started realizing some of the stuff that I was doing. And it's hard because like the mental aspect of it, I think, is like really difficult at times, because it would be easy to think that way and go back to it and feel that enjoyment of that high, of the high of control, of the high of cheating, of the high of sneaking around, doing different things, like all that kind of stuff like messes with your head. And so like you see like when people get into that stuff, like it doesn't get better, it just compounds, it gets worse, because like the hits have to get bigger, the highs have to get stronger, the adrenaline has to get crazier, and like that happens like consistently. And so like you can kind of like in the moment, like there'd be like moments that might happen where I might think of something in the past that's not just like the past, but maybe like something that could be triggering in that aspect. And I know like, hey, like that's a string. If I pull that, that's going to unravel some stuff. So I need to like keep that. Not that I'm like not focusing on healing, but like there's certain aspects of like control or like affairs or like sexuality and stuff like that, that if I go down that path, like it's like a black hole that'll suck you in.
Okay, sure. When it comes to like the stacking that you've been doing, which is kind of a process when you break it down. So for me, I look at that as kind of a normal human process that our thoughts go through subconsciously, but I think that the narcissist didn't develop that thought pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And not that that we're conscious aware that we do that, but they teach you to slow yourself down in therapy, right? Like, this behavior triggered this. I feel this way. When you did this, I felt this way, which made me think this, but maybe you actually were doing this, or you actually felt that way, right? But do you think, did you go through something as a child? You said your parents weren't well, and that's what, like, you emotionally just weren't taught or developed emotionally the way the rest of us do?
Yeah, it was more or less like the lack of like emotional support, and not necessarily that they were like mean or abusive or anything like that, but it was more of like the overbearing, over controlling in some aspects of like different aspects that I would bring to them of like, hey, like this is something that I'm struggling with. So like I guess like one really good example is like when I was like going to school one time, like at a young age, like there was a girl that expressed like interest in me. And like for me, like I was like new. And so I like went back and I told him, I was like, oh, this girl likes me. And like the like lecture I got was like, just beware, like watch out for fame, fortune, and females, and like just keep them at bay. Like that's not something you need to be focusing on right now. And like there wasn't ever like a moment of like, okay, but what are these feelings, like what is going on? It was more or less like, we don't talk about that, and just kind of moved on. So there's different aspects like that created at times of like, hey, this isn't a safe place to express what I'm feeling or what I'm thinking, and I don't know what I'm feeling or thinking, so it's kind of left up to my own interpretation or me figuring out in some ways.
Yeah, and you just didn't spend a lot of thought on what you were feeling or thinking.
And then I got to place where feelings were bad and we don't think about those and we just move on.
Interesting. I'm a pretty empathetic person, more than a lot, and I just spent so much time as a child, like things would happen that were just so unacceptable with my parents, and I just spent a lot of time thinking about how I felt and like why I felt that way and why, like why anyone would behave that way to instill this type of emotion. People, like, those were the things that I sat and thought like at length about.
Right.
So it's just kind of interesting to hear that like you just didn't really think about what you were thinking or feeling.
Yeah, I would say it was probably honestly in therapy about probably like 6 months ago that like one of my revelations on my therapy journey that one day was just the simple fact of feelings aren't bad. Like, but that's something that I thought, she was just like, your feelings are your own, like they're not like good or bad, like they're just like your own feelings. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I thought she was crazy.
I think it's powerful. I think it's so powerful to just kind of accept that your emotions aren't good or bad. They just exist. Like, that realization is huge. And then being, oh, they don't control my behavior.
Mm-hmm.
They're just there. And my behavior is something that I control separately.
Yeah. That's been very new and life-changing for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah. I was gonna see what other. I have not been paying attention to like any of the comments tonight. I'm not gonna lie.
I've been just asking my questions.
No, you're good. So for anybody that's on here, so definitely would love you guys to tune in to webinar coming up April 6th. So Stronger Than Before is putting on a webinar with several creators. There's like 5, 6 of us. So Stronger Than Before, myself, Lee, Mental Healness, Kelly Lovelace, Lady Lovelace, Carrie McAvoy, and Manjeet. Are all going to be on the panel coming up April 6th. So super excited about that. You can click on my link in the bio to be able to get tickets to be able to attend and support that. But it's on identifying and like overcoming narcissistic abuse. So we're super excited about that. Super excited. I've been working with, I think this week was actually like 21 appointments with different people. So been working with people like coaching, trying to help break free of trauma bonds, trying to work through a lot of different things, or just try to get answers or closure in dealing with a narcissist. So that's been going on a bunch too. And then the NARC app, that's another thing that we've been promoting just to try to help connect people with other like-minded people that are either struggling in the abuse or they've gotten out and they're working on their healing. They're using that to be able to track their no contact, so they can record like their truth of what they're experiencing, or they can do like a small exercise like what we kind of walked through today of the feelings to fable to facts to be able to write a new story to be able to work on that. So that's my little advertisement for the moment. What they say, how do you know when the narc does the final discard? So the final discard happens when you make sure that it's the final discard. The final discard is not you giving it up to the narc for them to control when it actually happens, but it's you making sure that there's no way for them to contact you. It's ghosting, blocking, going no contact, so there's no way for them to come back. So the final discard, when you know they're not going to come back, is when there's no way for them to come back. But otherwise, a lot of times they'll keep trying to come back, and you can never put that much responsibility on them to not come back.
Yeah, you can never be sure, and you can never give them the control to make that decision for your life.
I don't even know. Remim? I don't even know how to say it. But so it wasn't necessarily what the girl texted me. It was just the fact that she ghosted me and went completely no contact. So the text wasn't anything like crazy or special. It was just like, like, hey, like, thanks for being in my life, but no more, don't ever contact me, and then like block me on everything.
So I don't know what I did, but my comments disappeared.
Oh, really?
Like everything on this.
Oh, you probably slid to the left. No, that puts filters on. That's weird. Mine's putting filters on when I slide, but before... Okay, that's really weird. But before, like, whenever I've done it, it, like, slides everything off.
Okay, yeah, they're back.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, you're welcome. Sorry, I didn't answer your question. I saw that question, like, a couple times before because I hadn't been paying attention very well. So, but yeah, thanks. Yeah, throw any questions you guys got up there. We still got, like, 30 minutes before we jump off, so feel free to add any questions. There we go. So what's the best way to co-parent when you can't go no contact? So from what I've talked to with a lot of different people, it's going no contact to the best of your ability. So you can limit no contact like really, really small. So some people only contact through like an attorney or through lawyers. Others use like a co-parenting app. I haven't heard a ton of great things about that. I know a lot of people that they block on every single thing, and the only way they can contact is through email. Something that can be a little less time sensitive and less triggering can be very beneficial in that aspect. Yes, I compartmentalize. You have to. Let's see. Do you have any other questions?
I'm sure I can come up with some, but just to add to the co-parenting, I think it's also important if you're going to limit your contact, which is you should limit it to like bare minimum. We're talking about the children, but I think it's important to set those boundaries and remember that you don't have to get sucked into conversations outside of the children. You don't have to get sucked into answering calls at 2 a.m. on the weekend because it's about the children or anything, right? Like you get to make the rules and say, we're going to talk at these times only about the kids for this reason. Just hold firm that you don't need to get sucked into things that you don't want to. Just because they said it's about the kids or that they're entitled to you doing that for them, right?
Yeah, they'll call to talk to the kids, and then they end up like talking to you through the kids, or like on FaceTime with the kids, and they're like saying something to the parent off screen, like all that type of stuff.
Yeah,
definitely. Well, when using the gray rock method, do they make you feel like the bad guy? I mean, gray rock method, they're not getting their supply, they're not getting a reaction, so they got to figure out whatever they can to trigger you to get a reaction. So if they can get you to say, they can get you to feel like you're the bad guy, so you react trying to prove that you're not the bad guy, you're still reacting, and that's oftentimes what they're trying to do. And gray rock is a concept of trying to go as emotionless and as giving them as the least amount of supply as possible. And for gray rock, I feel like I normally try to put like at least a little warning label on it. From what I've seen and experienced with different people, gray rocking I've seen work like 50%. So like I would say for a lot of people, be careful, because sometimes gray rocking can accelerate abuse.
Can you elaborate further on like getting that narcissistic supply and that reaction? Like, what does that reaction do for you, and how would you feel to be gray rocked?
I think the big aspect of that reaction is more or less knowing, in one sense, in like the unhealthy state, like knowing that you controlled it, knowing that you made it, which all goes back to just the narcissist like wanting and needing control of the situation. So like if I create that I made you react, then in reality, like I'm still in control, I'm still the person that knows what's going on, that feels like I'm manipulating the whole situation, and I'm not worried. I'm not worried about being insecure. I'm not worrying about, the other word I can't think of. Like, I'm not worried about that kind of stuff because I'm the one manipulating. I'm the one that's in control, which is why a lot of times you'll see like narcissists in the middle of like complete chaos. They'd be like, why would you want to live in that? Well, I want to live in that because that chaos is mine. That chaos is something that I control. So as a result, it doesn't really feel as much like chaos to the narcissist. It feels like regular life. And this is how you work people.
And you almost feel safe because you know that you have control and power in that moment.
It's harder once you don't have control. It's harder once you don't have power. It's harder when you realize like who you are and you take a step back and you're like, hey, that's not someone I can be. And you feel like some aspect of peace and you're like, what the heck is this? Because it doesn't feel right, because it doesn't feel like control. And letting go of control is like scary.
What is it about control that makes you feel safe? And what is it about not having control that's so scary? Like, what's so upsetting about giving up control?
Being vulnerable and honest.
That somebody will take advantage of that?
I think sometimes, like for me, as far as like I could see that sometimes, like vulnerable, or like the aspect of being betrayed, and some of that also is not just like my narcissism, but also is like my Enneagram 8 of like that's like one of the core fears of like not wanting to be betrayed, kind of a thing, and looking for like people that are loyal, even though that didn't match up to how I was living, But there's also like the honesty part in the being vulnerable of like if I'm vulnerable, well, then it means I have to be honest. If I'm honest, then I have to come to terms with who I am and what I've done and how I've impacted.
Mm, okay. And so you're aware that that was bad and you don't want to feel that and you don't want to feel guilt about it.
Right. No, definitely as a narcissist, don't want to feel guilt or shame. So like that's why a lot of times I've got like I don't have it up here, the like I've called it like the narcissistic cycle of like you hit that trigger and that trigger promotes shame. You can't feel that shame because it promotes guilt. So you have to get away from it as quick as possible. So you blame the other person and they don't take the blame right away. So then you rage the other person and then you're back down in the pit and on the very bottom of everything. You got to figure, how do I get back to normal life as quick as possible? Well, the easiest way to do that is to love bomb, future fake, lie, and manipulate. So you get back up to normal. You're like, okay, everything's fine. Like we're like back to our normal state of communicating and everything like that. But the problem is you haven't dealt with the triggers. So you get to the same trigger, do the same thing over and over again. And in arguments, especially in arguments with like more and more rage, like accelerated rage, that cycle is actually firing off like constantly, like every second, every minute. And it's going through like the entire cycle because, with a narcissist making someone upset, it can create that shame, that guilt, that blame, that rage. And then there's an aspect of knowing, and then there's an aspect of that initially being a trigger that triggers it all over again because you get to the rage and the rage is making the person more upset, which is a trigger for shame, guilt, we've got to blame, rage, and then it just keeps accelerating.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, well, and this is something out on my content, it's that it takes a lot more power, I think, to reflect and swallow your pride, because we all have, like, no one wants to feel shame or guilt, even without narcissism. Like, I don't want to feel that, and I'll certainly, especially younger, would rather just get mad at you for having feelings about it than making me have to feel shame about what I just did,
Right.
But I think me maturing myself emotionally was doing the harder thing, which is swallowing your pride and reflecting on your behavior.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely think so. Early on, one thing that I learned was from Brene Brown's book, Daring Greatly. So that was a big aspect. Like this was a book that was very early on in my journey. Like we're talking like years ago that I read that like the part that like triggered and like spoke to me in it was the aspect of shame and vulnerability in the book. And this was like way before I even heard or thought of the concept of narcissism. And the third time I read this, so this last year, the third time I read this, I actually like read through it and there's like a whole chapter on narcissism. Never knew it. Yeah, like there's a whole like section at least about narcissism and like never knew it. Like when I read back through it, I was like, this is the third time I've read this book, and this is literally like it feels like I'm reading this for the very first time.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a whole, where is it? No, yeah, it's a little chapter, but it's basically a chapter.
This is here's a question. Talk about the victims that start healing. There's a time you have to take what you know and move. Talk about victims that start healing. Maybe I read that wrong.
Talk about victims that start healing. There's a time that you have to take what you know and move. Like move out, move away. The name of it is Daring Greatly by Brene Brown. I don't know if it's talking about like move and don't look back. Yeah, I mean, there definitely is an aspect that you need to move and don't look back because if you look back, the narcissist is going to put on a show on their social media and with their friends of how they're so much better with the next person. And it'll make you doubt yourself. That's one aspect of it. Narc is hoovering and asked what an explanation by him is going to cost. Don't get that thought process. Is hoovering and asked by an explanation from him? I'm struggling to understand the question. I do know someone that was with a narcissist that like begged to get answers and begged to get questions and ended up paying the narcissist like thousands of dollars to get answers. Like it's crazy. It's crazy what to do. What's that?
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm. She ended up getting the money back because she had it all like recorded, and actually was able to go to trial and get the money back. But it was definitely kind of crazy.
That is crazy. I mean, I know I had so many questions when I was getting out of my relationship.
How do you heal when you're pregnant with your narc ex's baby and trying to keep him involved for the baby? This Fudging Kids on here should be a good one to connect with you. I don't know if she's on here. But yeah, you have to set boundaries and you have to be really careful to make sure that you're focusing on you and your kids' well-being. I don't know if she's on here tonight. I saw her on here earlier, but she might have gone. But she's actually getting ready to have her baby within the next like week, really. But she's been going through divorce while being pregnant on her own.
I agree with this. Don't stress about trying to keep him involved, because I think your primary concern is your mental health and your child's mental health. And if you got to keep your cup filled so that you can raise this child in a happy and healthy environment. And I don't think like he should be a priority. It's his responsibility to involve himself in the child's life in a healthy manner, you know.
Holly Jolly X, if you can message me on Instagram, and I'll try to catch the message and maybe see if I can connect you guys, because I don't see her on right now, and I don't remember her username off the top of my head. The narc I know said he has trouble differentiating between fantasy and reality. Yeah, no, I mean, that's huge. And that's like an easy one to struggle with because of the fact you get to the place where you're creating your fantasy and you're creating your reality. And sometimes they're so close together that they bleed over and you start getting confused which is which. Like, this is why, there's times I think that sometimes they struggle with like actually remembering things, like stuff that they're lying about, but like actually remembering things or having like sometimes gaps because they have trouble remembering like which is which. This is why a lot of times you'll have how I think, I guess, you have a lot of times a narcissist will how a narcissist will sometimes get to the place where they lie about something that they don't need to lie about, or they'll lie about something that the other person already knows the answer. Like it's really crazy. So I had one person that the narcissist lied about, what was it? They lied about being vaccinated. Okay, so they lied to their family saying they had not been vaccinated, but the family had already seen the vaccination card. They'd seen them go get vaccinated. Like, there's evidence showing that they have been vaccinated, but they lied about that. And they're just kind of like, why are you lying about that? Because we already know, like, you already told us, we already saw all the evidence and everything like that. And they just stuck with it and kept going. But then in reality, what was happening was the one reality is the one reality that they created and the fantasy they created had different stories. So in one reality, they were not vaccinated and publicly that way. And in another reality, they were vaccinated because of job and stuff like that. And so in that moment, those two realities kind of like meshed and they were like lying about the wrong one. Because with a narcissist, it's not hard to lie if you believe your reality. The hard part is not lying about the realities, it's the jump in between. Is you have to make that jump fast, and you have to get good at making that jump fast so you don't get stuck in the middle, or so you don't get confused. But you have to get from your fantasy to reality as fast as possible so that in this reality you can tell the truth, because this is what you believe. You don't believe this other stuff over here. Then you jump over to your fantasy and this is what you believe here. And so you're not telling the lies about that stuff because you're only in this reality. That's how narcissists have to stay so much like in the moment, because you can't look cognitively at both too long, or it can get really screwy. Hopefully that makes sense.
Earlier you had said you didn't really look into the future, but are you fantasizing about a future that you are trying to like navigate or like create?
Like, now am I thinking about the future as like what I want to be, or like in the past?
Or like before therapy, when you were fantasizing, was it about a future that you were going to like create?
No, like with that it'd be more like fantasy of like different reality. Like, this is like my reality right now is I can be loving with my affair partner, and this is the only thing I see in this aspect, and then go home and be loving with my wife, and this is the only thing I see in this aspect. So like I'm not lying to her because I'm only in this reality, and I'm not lying to her because I'm only in this reality.
I see what you're saying.
But the future stuff, no, like future stuff wasn't a part of life. Like it was hard to have that concept of like who do I want to be in a year? Like what's my 5-year plan? Like even stuff like that, even from like a business standpoint, was like very, very, very difficult to like think that far out in one sense.
Okay.
Is it typical or common for a narc to be preoccupied with narcissism in others and know and talk a lot about narcissistic traits? I wouldn't say it's typical or common, but I have seen narcissists that do educate themselves and they're self-aware and that they don't care and they'd rather project that on other people than have other people turn the spotlight on them. Does a narcissist fear you when you start to act confident again? No, they don't fear you. A lot of times it's more or less they fear the lack of control and they fear the lack of manipulation that they're going to have over you. And at that point, they might exit out and find someone else or start looking for another supply. If a person doesn't give into a narc, does it make them harder for the challenge? A lot of times, if you're still in the relationship, it does come across the narcissist like you're playing like hard to get, and it will be a challenge a lot of times.
Do you like that? Do you like the challenge? Or you don't? Do you want someone that's easy to control?
I mean, easy to manipulate is kind of boring.
Yeah.
Do you want like a challenge, someone that you can break down and build back up, or someone you can put on a pedestal and tear back down so they keep coming back for more?
Why? Just to have that power.
Just to have that power and to lock in that supply.
Okay.
It's kind of like a, building someone up on a pedestal and then kicking the pedestal out from underneath them is your security deposit for a long-lasting relationship that you can abuse.
Very interesting.
It's been a lot of good questions tonight. Did they ever just leave you alone when there's a new supply and you have kids together? I would say they might leave you alone for a time until the new supply figures it out, till they get bored or till their mask gets uncovered, and then they will probably try to come back. My ex told me terrible stories about other people that ended up being stories about what he did to me. Yeah, a lot of times you can listen to a narcissist and they'll tell them themselves. A lot of times you can listen to a narcissist tell you what he's not going to do, and he's actually telling you what he is going to do. It's very like backwards. Why would a narcissist keep someone around that challenges everything they say? See, there's also an aspect of, I guess you could say, like negative supply. And I guess how I view it is like a lot of times on these platforms, people think like supply of like the narcissist manipulating other people to like love them. Well, the negative supply could also be the narcissist manipulating other people to have reactive abuse, to explode on them, to yell at them, to call them out. And there's narcissists. I mean, there's narcissists even on this platform that I would say enjoy being called out, enjoy like people trying to challenge them so they can get like a kick off of it. They can get like a high off of it. So like a narcissist could keep someone around that enjoys that someone's like coming after them or challenging them or attacking them, that can further either their victim mindset or can further their mindset that they're justified. So a couple of things on my self-aware story. The best way is to go to my YouTube and check out the video "Self-Aware Narcissist." That one came out like last week or so. But that one kind of walks you through a little bit of the steps of how I kind of got to this place. Still a lot more to go. Still a lot more to figure out. But yeah. But yeah, if you guys haven't, then go check out my YouTube. So it's the same everywhere. Raw Motivations on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. So just trying to bring awareness about narcissism, be able to communicate to help people find healing, growth, and change. And so we with longer videos. We've got like the 10-minute videos on there of me like talking about it, trying to break it down even more. Do it through the website, rawmotivations.com, where people can go and can sign up to do like one-on-ones where I can kind of talk to you and kind of work through a lot of times in like a coaching aspect of breaking down like what happened to you or breaking down like the trauma bond to try to help you get to the place of healing and breaking free. And then we also have the NARC app, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community, that you can get on Apple or you can get on Google Play. And that's built with a bunch of people that are trying to educate people about narcissism and about abuse, and with like-minded people on the platform that are on their journey of healing, on their journey of growth. And the other thing is April 6th, we have coming up a webinar that Stronger Than Before is putting on. It's going to be super awesome. I'm one of the panelists, so super excited about that. Never been a panelist before, so that's a new one. But then Lee Mental Healness, Lady Loveless, Carrie McAvoy, and Manjeet, I don't remember her username, is all going to be on the panel. And so like we're super excited. So if you go to my link in the bio, you can grab your tickets for it coming up on April 6th. So grab some tickets for it to support and to be able to check it out. It's on identifying and overcoming narcissistic abuse. So there's going to be a lot of really cool stuff coming up April 6th. So can you tell how narcs are with revenge, especially covert? Sometimes they can get very like vengeful, very vindictive. So like sometimes they will contact, sometimes they'll make up stories. There's one that just made up a completely false lie, and the only reason they did it, they told their supply, the only reason they made up this false lie to defame them was because they couldn't find a good reason to hate them. So they made another excuse up of what the person was and what they did and everything, just to be able to have an excuse to blame them, to try to take them to court and defame them. It's crazy. So a lot of times there is like that concern and that wonder of like, are they going to come back? And the biggest thing is like trying to make sure that you work on growing yourself and you work on protecting yourself. So making sure that there's no way for them to come back, no way for them to contact you, and that you're so busy with your growth that if it ever does happen, you won't have to worry about it. You can look at my website, rawmotivations.com. That's the best place to grab a one-on-one. So let's try it again. Rawmotivations.com, and then click on one-on-ones to be able to grab a time there. So hopefully I'm going to get the website switched over. I'm trying to switch it over to Calendly because everything on the website is in Eastern time. So if you grab a appointment, make sure you do the calculations. Been struggling with that. That's why I'm switching to Calendly, because it automatically like changes it for everybody. Your husband deleted his Facebook? Maybe. I don't know. I don't normally believe that stuff. So I don't know how many people I've talked to have been like, yeah, my narcissist doesn't do social media. And then they find the second phone, then they find the Tinder account, then they find like you name it. Like if you have social media and you're with a person that doesn't want to friend you on social media, keeps you blocked on social media, and you guys are in a relationship, that's only because they want to appear single for everybody else out there, and they're probably cheating on you.
Can you talk about how it feels for the narcissist to see their ex thriving without them?
A lot of times there's an aspect of like disbelief, like there's no way they could do that without me. Like there's no way that they could be. That's an interesting username. There's no way that they can, that's actually real. Like a lot of times it'll be like fake in their mind. Like they're not actually doing that. Like they still need me. They still think about me. And then there's also aspect of like frustrated and sometimes jealous too. Of like, I can't believe that's actually happening, and here I am. Like they used me and abused me, and now they're going off and doing stuff that they want to do, and like I never had that opportunity. Like then you have like the victim mentality too. A lot of times there's no remorse because remorse would be accountable for your actions, and that would be being honest. And so, like the aspect of like remorse, they're normally not going to want to be. Remorse oftentimes comes with empathy too. So there's the aspect of like someone. I literally did a video on this on YouTube, but it's not coming out till like next week. I recorded it today, but there's an aspect like where they'll be like crying in front of you, and they won't. The narcissist like won't do anything, and part of it is like kind of like they lock up in one sense because you're expressing emotions that they don't know how to deal with. You're expressing emotions that they don't have in the moment, or they don't know how to like process. And so it's like, maybe if I just go completely stonewall, maybe they'll shut up and it'll be easier for my existence to not have to experience what's happening in this moment. And then there's like a frustration at times of like, hey, this isn't changing, like they're still crying. And so then this aspect of maybe if I yell at them, they'll shut up and stop crying, and it just goes into like a cycle. One-on-one info, go to rawmotivations.com, click my link in the bio, and you can grab one there. So hopefully this doesn't get me in trouble, but when I redid a couple things on my website, I ended up putting one thing on there. Well, I'm actually willing to meet with couples. I think it's gonna get me in trouble, but we're gonna try it. I've met with now I think 3 different couples, and it's actually been very interesting and enlightening all at the same time.
That is really interesting. Never do that for me as a coach, but I would love to see you work with a narcissistic relationship.
Normally the couples, like whenever I've met, so side note, so everybody knows, okay, I do not recommend you going to counseling or therapy with your narcissist, okay, because they specifically will go to be able to use that as ammo to be able to abuse you more and to justify their actions and to be able to show you how their actions are justified by everything that you're doing wrong. Okay. So I don't recommend that. The only reason that I put it on my website is I've already done sessions with like 3 different couples. And let me tell you right now, like in those sessions, that's the most I ever cuss because like sometimes I get very fired up. And one of the first ones that I have met with the husband and the wife. And once they finished talking for the first couple minutes, just like intro and stuff like that, I just looked at them and I said, like, you talk like a really good game, but I can't tell how full of BS you are. And laid it out. And then I talked to another one the other day and I said, hey, if this continues, you need to leave him. Like I said that in front of the husband because I'm like, I don't care. Like I'm not invested in this. Like I'm just trying to tell you how it is. And when I'm watching like the eye rolls and the smirks and the person there that's like trying to minimize the abuse that the other person's saying, I'm like, hey, like if you're not seeing change, then get out of there because it's not worth it. I'm not on this platform to bring you hope. I'm on this platform to bring you awareness and reality. And I'm trying to do that. And it's easier. I guess I'd say it this way. It's easier for me to do that if a husband and wife are actually interested in talking. It's a lot easier to do that talking to them together than it is one-on-one.
Yeah.
Because one-on-one, the narcissist manipulates, but like, well, I mean, they manipulate anyways. But like for me, like when I sit down with both of them in the same session, it's oftentimes it's like black and white, and I'm just like, dude, you're a freaking narcissist. Like it's very evident a lot of times.
And do you ever just like call them out and say, listen, I can see the way you're thinking. You're thinking this and this and this, and then this is going to work because you know how they're thinking. And then do they ever just go like,
Typically no, they don't. They're not like, oh, like, I had one that started crying on me the other day, and I was like, and it was like, you're just crying so I can like try to have sympathy for you, and I don't, so like it's just different aspects like that. I don't think doing like a couples one, I don't think it really helps the narcissist a lot of times because they have to be willing. They have to be willing to be honest and willing to change, and they're not doing that. But I think a lot of times from what I've seen, it gives the other person like almost like instant clarity of like, dude, this guy's calling him out for everything that I've been thinking and saying and not realizing that like what I'm experiencing is actually abuse and this person's saying it is.
okay, that's fabulous.
But it's been really interesting. Like over the past like couple weeks, I think I've had like several people that I've talked to that they've like, I'm not saying this to like toot my own horn, but they've said like after like talking through stuff, they're like, hey, like you've shed a lot more light than like therapists have on a lot of this because like I've lived it because like it's something I struggle with. It's because I know like the thought process a lot of times. So it's easier to identify, it's easier to like break it down. And my personality is very much like, excuse me, it's very much like analytical. So like it helps even looking at myself and looking at different situations to try to break it down in like an analytical mindset so that people understand what's going on or how to be able to avoid or get out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Why does mine do things to help, apologizes, stuff like that, but also gets mad that I do stuff without him? I would imagine from reading that you might do stuff without his permission or without his control. So like if you're not telling him like what you're doing, how you're doing it, you know. An apology, you have to be careful. Like a person just saying I'm sorry is not an apology. A person saying I'm sorry and not changing is just manipulation.
Yeah.
But yeah. What time is it? Oh, it's almost 11.
Oh, and 11 for you.
Yeah, it's 10 o'clock there for you, almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're in Central Time.
Yeah.
Cool. How many like do you do this full time or do you do like another job and then this?
I actually do this part time, but when I quit my job this week, so
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so I am gonna start to do this time. I have like 2 more weeks to finish out, and then I think I'm gonna go into this full time.
That's super awesome. Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Did you just have like a decent jump in followers over the past like couple weeks?
No, it's been steadily growing since
Okay.
last.
Because I feel like it was like a couple weeks ago. I like looked at your page and you were at like in the like 60s, and then like I looked the like today and you're like 75 or something like that.
Yeah. I think I'm about 75 or 76 today.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Super cool. How long have you been on TikTok?
Since May.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I started in March. I don't know when I started being like consistent, but like I'm coming up on like a year now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, towards May will be about a year. And then I posted a video about Narcissist. It was probably within a week a video went viral. Like, and it's not anything to do with me. I just mean like the demand for this information and the several of us giving it out, you know?
Right. You just had one recently that went viral when you just talked about NPD, right? I think that was like the
one that every single time I just do one that's kind of an NPD diagnosis. Those ones do really well. People want that.
Yeah.
And argue narcissist, which it's like, don't.
Right.
But want to know, how do I win this argument?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. If you guys aren't following her, definitely check her page out. If you guys aren't following her, definitely follow her. So, just trying to see. I don't really see anything else. I think we're gonna go ahead and see about wrapping up. I have my 5 a.m. one-on-one in the morning. So, yeah, what you got?
Oh, okay. Well, this question's really good. So she wants to know why some narcissists sign divorce papers, or they won't sign divorce papers, but why her narcissist didn't think twice and just sign them.
Ooh, that's a good question. So a lot of times narcissists don't sign the divorce papers because they don't want to lose their image. They don't want to lose the view of what's like going on outside. So they'll rather keep you in chaos. They'll rather keep you like struggling as then actually like admit defeat or admit that they're not a good father or a good mother or that they've messed up. Other times there's other aspects where they might be part of like the discard and they just want to move on, and that's like their way out. So they can use that even in like a victim mentality, or they can move on. They can be like, hey, like this is what I used to be in, but I'm out because I finished that. Like that was a crazy ex of mine or whatever.
It's interesting. Thanks for answering that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I am still in love also, but so disgusted. I don't think I can feel okay ever and ever again. So they tell you what you're in love with is you're in love with the image. You're in love with the original concept, the original person that the narcissist put out there. You're not actually in love with the actual person, because you don't actually know the actual person. Well, you probably have a better idea now of who that person is based on the abuse or based on the things that you're learning. But a lot of times people love the hope, people love the connection, and people love the bond. And most of that is built off of trauma, lies, and future faking.
Yeah. 100%.
What is your handle on TikTok? I got someone asking on YouTube.
Catherine Kleist, at Catherine Kleist.
Oh, sweet. Christine, thank you for putting that on there. She already put it on there for us. Sweet. I don't have siblings. Single child.
So is this streaming on YouTube as well?
Yeah, I've got YouTube up. I've got my camera on my computer, and so YouTube's over here as well.
Okay, I want to find. I didn't actually. Hold on, I'm pulling you up here. Your raw motivations on YouTube.
Yep.
Oh yeah, sure. There you are, live.
Yeah, I started changing it because I got a monitor finally for my laptop, so I started changing it. So now when I'm trying to run my lives, I have on my screen. Well, I can just show you. It's kind of cool. I'm happy with my setup now.
Let me see.
I need to remember how to flip the screen. Do I just tap? Nope, I just liked my own video. How do you flip the screen?
There's the little arrows that in the top left of your screen, maybe.
No.
Maybe not for you.
We'll just do this. There we go. So that's my setup right now. There you go.
Oh, cool.
So I've got there you go. So I've got my PC that normally runs all my Zoom stuff, and then I've got it's me inside me. This is this TikTok right here, and then there's YouTube, and YouTube's going off of the camera here, and then I've got keyboard and mouse, which is kind of cool because they can connect to either one. I can switch back and forth, and then my Mac that I normally take my notes and stuff like that, and then my screen so it looks official.
So your TikTok is on your phone right now, but it's also streaming on that computer behind you?
I'm watching my live of me so I can read the comments, because the comments sometimes go so fast here. I can see 25, 30 comments on my screen. So all I do is I log in. I just log in on TikTok on the computer under a different account and then watch my own. And then the comments actually update really close. I might get the comment on my phone a millisecond faster than the computer, but it's normally matched up enough that it works out really well.
Interesting. Okay. That's interesting. But you go on a different account to watch it.
Yeah, because if you try to go, I think you just tried to go on your own account. If you try to go on your own account, what happens is it disconnects you. I think that's what just happened. That's hilarious. That's funny. You're back just up. But yeah, you guys definitely go on. Obviously, if you're on YouTube, you're already on YouTube. But check out some of the longer videos. TikTok. Go on and check some of the longer videos on YouTube, and trying to get more people on YouTube just to help build the awareness there. If you guys want to talk on private, one-on-one, go to rawmotivations.com. I was in the middle of hey, if you try this, and then you disconnected, and I was perfect.
Well, I knew that too. I knew better, whatever.
So, well, that's why I go on with a different account. That way, I can watch my own live and see the comments. So that's awesome. I was in the middle of saying that you disappeared. I was oh.
But she did, yeah.
That's funny.
Thanks for showing me your setup.
Yeah. So I'm like super happy with it. I just like finalized it, I guess you could say, a couple of weeks ago. I finally got it just been a while, and I like saved up some money that I'd made like with the business stuff like that, so I could be like more effective at what I do. And like I absolutely love like how it's set up. Like this is like one of the best ones that I've got so far. And I got my finally got my desk from IKEA, so I can like sit stand, so I can like raise and lower, which is really nice. Because I definitely need that right now for a lot of times, especially with one-on-ones. Because I work in logistics, and I work like super early in the morning. So like Sunday through Wednesday, I get up at like 1:30 a.m. in the morning, go to work, get off work, go to Starbucks, work on my warrior stuff, my stacking, like journaling, kind of like center my day in one sense. Come home, like typically interact with Sophia for like a half hour or so, put her down for a nap, and then I normally have from like 12:30, 12:45 till like 2:45 when I can eat lunch, connect with Kayla some. A lot of times it's like recording videos, like working on admin stuff, which is why I hired a virtual assistant yesterday. So I'm like super excited about that. And then as soon as 2:45 hits, I normally have one-on-ones from like 2:45 till 6:15, and then wrap those up, eat supper, put Sophia down to bed, do a couple things, and then go to bed so I can wake back up the next morning at 1:30. So I'm super excited about just making this full time. I'm not at that point yet, but I'm getting closer. So
Yeah, it's like a long process. I hear you, and it's hard to not get overwhelmed by it. And I just keep trying to do one brick at a time. But
right.
it's like getting the setup, and I want to fork out all this money so that I can be more effective too. But then I'm just trying to find a balance between growing and being effective and purchasing all of these things as I grow.
Yeah. Definitely let me know if you have any questions and stuff, because like the setup and some of the equipment I use, I've gotten different ideas from different creators and also different stuff. Like I absolutely love like the arm that like my phone's on, because it's like fully movable and everything. It takes a little bit to get used to, but it's just like locked onto the desk. I used to have like the tripod on the desk, and then this has been like absolutely huge, and it works out perfect for like YouTube, because I just flip it sideways and just do like my YouTube videos. So far, like I do all my recording on my phone still. Like I should do like YouTube where I actually do stuff with like an actual camera and edit and all. But like right now I do the YouTube videos. Here I'm talking about, and I like moved it all now. But I do like the YouTube videos just all on my phone. I just try to make sure I like look at the camera and not like the middle of the phone, because then it looks all funky.
Totally. I don't know. I'm in the process of it all too. I've kind of got my own little setup over here. Oh well, there goes my mic. But the camera and stuff too. I'm gonna start a YouTube channel. I've been meaning to do that. I wanted to start that last year, but I really had to get through that like final year of college. It was just much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want advice. Like any advice you can give me, I will probably reach out for you to help me with.
Yeah, absolutely. So
That'd be
I
cool.
love all the tech stuff and like trying to get better at what I do. And I'm hoping the next like month or so being able to have a virtual assistant is going to help free up some time, hopefully to work on not just my content, but like work on my brand. Cause like I know I need to work on like my branding. I need to work on like logo, just like making a lot of stuff that I haven't worked on. But I was like, I'd rather work on developing, my base of people. I didn't realize like how much that's funny. I work on like developing like my base of people, and also working on just losing my train of thought. That was the other aspect. I don't remember what I was gonna say. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff now I need to grow and develop. I mean, like honestly, like I've been blessed just with like how much it's been receptive, and how much I've done, even just like on YouTube, with like every single video on YouTube is literally just like point and shoot. Like I've never done any editing, I've never done anything like that. And it's such a blessing like to see where it's gone. Like we just passed I think 11.1 thousand on YouTube, which YouTube's been live. Like I've started posting consistently on YouTube for 4 months, 5 months now maybe. So like that's been really encouraging, and that's been like stuff that's like really cool, because YouTube, the more people we get on there, like that's also like one big aspect of being able to start doing this full time, is like just having the YouTube up and running, because that does help to be able to put videos on there and be able to help to get out of my job so I can do this more full time for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I'm on the same path. I
Yeah.
really am.
That's awesome. So, well, yeah, hit me up if you ever have any questions or anything, and definitely awesome going live with you. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for answering my questions.
Yeah,
Let's go.
absolutely. It was fun. We'll do it again sometime.
Definitely.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds good. You have a great night, okay?
You too.
All right. Take care. All right, y'all. Thank you guys so much for being on. Appreciate it. If you haven't followed her, then definitely check out her page and everything. If you want to talk one-on-one, go to robmotivations.com, click on one-on-ones. Definitely willing and excited to be able to talk to people. I meet with people every single day on a daily basis. I'm normally meeting anywhere from like 3 to 5 people probably on a daily basis. But definitely would love to be able to help out you guys any way that I can. Check out the podcast. So we got the podcast on Apple, also the podcast on Spotify. So there's a new episode coming out tomorrow about my past, just like thinking through the past, thinking through the future. Check out the YouTube video coming out tomorrow. It's got some stuff about the Tinder swindler. So hopefully that's like kind of interesting. It's kind of crazy because stuff about the Tinder swindler has been some of the people that I've talked to, like literally some of the same exact stories, some of the same exact things that have happened on there. So feel free to check that out. Just help bring awareness to narcissism, help bring awareness to the channel as I try to grow it and try to be able to help people find healing, growth, and change while we're on there. So but guys, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Check out the NARC app, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community. That's on Google Play and also Apple. And also, please go to my bio and check out the link because there is a webinar coming up April 6th. Put it down in your calendars, okay? April 6th, there's a webinar, and we're talking like some awesome people are coming on it. So mental illness, Lee Hammock with Lady Loveless. So Kelly, she's going to be on there. We got Manjeet, also Carrie. We're all going to be on the webinar. I'm actually going to be one of the panelists. I'm super excited about it. I've been a panelist before, so it'll be kind of interesting. But go to the link in my bio and grab your tickets. I think it's like $20. So nothing too big for a bunch of information, a bunch of people that have either are narcissists or are counselors. Would love to have you guys just come out and support and be able to see everything because it's going to be really cool. So it's about identifying and overcoming narcissistic abuse. So there's going to be a lot of questions, a lot of good content, a lot of awesome people that are going to be there to be able to follow and gain a lot of knowledge from. So please go check that out in my bio. Help us support and everything. Okay. Awesome. Thank you all so much. I appreciate it. So I'm heading out. It is time for bed. But anyways, thank you all so much. Appreciate it.